Hello, I'm greeting my friend, a former colleague at Holy Trinity Seminar in Jordanville, and also a fellow St. Vladimir's alumnus, Dr. Vitaly Permiakov, for being available to meet with us from Baltimore. Father Vitaly, would you please introduce yourself?
My name is Deacon Vitaly Permiakov. I'm assistant professor of liturgical theology at St. Vladimir's Seminary. I'm a graduate of St. Vladimir's and with my doctorate in 2012 from University of Notre Dame. I'm from a Russian family in Latvia, so my native language is Russian. I'm aspire to be a liturgical scholar, so scholar of Byzantine and non-Byzantine liturgical Eastern liturgical traditions. That's my bread and butter. That's what I work on most of my time when I'm not teaching.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Father Vitaly, what is your opinion? How does this council, Pan-American
All-American Council.
All-American Council, thank you. How does it benefit the church, the OCA?
Well, I think first of all, the council itself is a great experience. It's an experience of the church that assembles as a council and also assembles as a church, because the participants of All-American Council, they come together every 3 years. So we missed 1 year because of the pandemic, and they get together and they pray together, they worship together. They meet one another, they meet the hierarchs, they meet their fellow priests. Of course, it's also kind of in a way, it's a kind of grand reunion. It's on a great scale that you meet people whom you haven't seen for, well, at least 3 years. Some people I've meeting this time, I haven't seen them for 20 years. People I was in seminary with. But most importantly, of course, council is not simply kind of a get-together party. It has a specific statutory role. The council, according to statutes of Orthodox Church in America, it is the highest legislative body of the church, and so specifically by the statutes, the All-American Council, composed of bishops, clergy delegates, and lay delegates, both men and women, is a highest legislative body of the church. It's the highest church institution that produces. Makes decisions that affect the entire church, and of course, most importantly, also importantly, it is a great opportunity, unique opportunity for all members of the church, particularly bishops, central administration, and clergy, parish clergy, lay people, members of parishes, to talk to one another and to hear one another. I think, and that is this element which the council has been going on for 2 days. We have had two plenary sessions so far, and we can definitely see that there is a living interaction, there's a living connection. People talk to one another, people disagree. People may strongly disagree with one another, and there might be, as a result, there might be a disappointment. But in the end, they all. It's also a sign, shows that we. OCA does have element of stability at this time. But they hear one another. In the end, they all come together, and they all come together before the Eucharistic chalice. We have this. That's my first council as a delegate. That is with a right to vote and participate in the discussions. But it's I think what's also important that every day we have divine liturgy, and every day different hierarch presides at the divine liturgy, and divine liturgy also is served according to different traditions. So on Tuesday we had Alaskan clergy from Diocese of Alaska serving together with their hierarch. This morning we had liturgy with the various ethnic dioceses, 3 ethnic dioceses, clergy from 3 ethnic dioceses of OCA coming together and serve. So this is also, but it's not a simply a kind of like a theater, kind of a liturgical show, but people come to pray, people come to receive communion, and most of the participants, council participants, participate in the Eucharist. So I think this is, I think, what's important. That's what's in Russian they call обратная связь. That's the kind of like you hear. There is someone on the other end of the line when you
kind of feedback.
Yeah.
Feedback. You did mention a plenary session that you participate this morning, and it's not really clear to me what was it, and it's kind of triggered the question: how is decision-making process organized at the council?
So the agenda of the council has been usually prepared and approved in advance, but there might be changes to the agenda. Every meeting is conducted according to more or less it follows the Robert's Rules of Order, but basically it's a little bit kind of loosely because it's a large assembly, and there is there are reports. There are reports from the Metropolitan, a report from the Chancellor, who is the kind of highest church officer, is the Chancellor, was in Russian equivalent would be like управляющий делами of the church, and a report from the secretary and from the treasurer. We had a separate report from the treasurer, and also it's also a report from regarding the audit from the audit committee regarding auditing finances of the church, and they're very transparent. They tell us what they are planning to do, what worked out, what did not necessarily work out as planned. Of course, every report addressed the pandemic, which of course affected the life of the church. When the council needs to make a decision, the voting members of the council with the right to vote, which is basically the delegates, they vote by raising cards. So there is a card, like a yes and no card, and so the tellers collect the votes, and then they make a decision. So yesterday, at this council, there were 2 statute amendments to the OCA statute were considered. And one of the amendments which were voted on today, which regarded the restructuring of the offices of the church, the statute amendment requires 2/3 majority. So it's necessary that the majority, like overwhelming majority of the council votes for it. So we had the amendment today passed without much debate. The amendment yesterday regarding the change to the statute concern the manner in which the pension board is elected. So this was also preceded by the report of the pension board, and the members of the central administration, the treasurer, argued in favor of changing the manner in which pension board is elected. Right now, it's elected directly by the All-American Council. Central national administration of the church suggested that it should be appointed by the metropolitan, and part of it would also be elected directly by the people who participate in the pension plan. So there is also was addressed that the pension plan is there is element of crisis. There is some concerns regarding the OCA pension plan, and at the same time, it was suggested that there is way out. So one of these, there is kind of way to ensure that its stability in the future. But one of the measures was suggested was this change of the amendment, and not because of that required the decision of 2/3 of the council. It caused a debate. So there were two microphones with 10 people speaking in favor, 10 people speaking opposed, and then the votes were cast. It was not a secret ballot, but the votes were cast openly, and essentially majority of the council voted for the measure, but less than 2/3. So that means that the amendment failed. Despite the fact that the administration spoke in favor of it, despite the fact that Metropolitan clearly said that he favors that amendment, and he will vote for it, and he wants the council, recommends the council to vote for it. At the same time, the council essentially said that yes, we hear you, but we are not convinced. We're not ultimately convinced that this is the right measure. So, but this morning, Metropolitan, his Beatitude referred to the fact that, well, it was still a majority, even though it did not pass, it was still a majority. So there is I would say that this interaction between, as I said before, this feedback and interaction between hierarchical leadership and central administration and kind of people on the ground, it is a live interaction, which doesn't mean that it's always, rosy and fluffy. Right. I mean that's it causes, there are, as part of any conversation you have, on any honest and open conversation, you have disagreements and disappointments, and so, but we move on. And we don't. I think the healthy environment in the church doesn't allow for resentments to build up, and it's also the way to of these kind of like failing that measure was also, I think, it was the way to for the larger church, the church body, telling the administrations, saying kind of, I mean, you may be right, but you should do better. Basically, you should convince us. You should make stronger argument for your measure. But at the same time, what was also remarkable, that while even both people who for the measure, but specific people who opposed it, reiterated there that basically they are very happy about church leadership right now, but with the work Metropolitan Tikhon is doing, the Father Alexander Rentel, the chancellor, and the treasurer. So they are not questioning their motives or questioning their integrity. It's just they think that this is maybe it's not this is not necessarily the best thing to do right now. It's a change, of course, from the times of crisis and times of trouble which OCA experienced from roughly 2006 to 2012, which they were very there were councils of the OCA, which I was not present at, but of course I read about everything about it, which were very dramatic and caused a lot of pain, and there are two metropolitans of OCA who resigned in 2008 and 2012, and which was also kind of all grew out of that times of troubles and and crisis and general mistrust, lack of trust in the church administration, and you can never tell that ultimately that the trust has been restored, everything normal now. I mean, you cannot, as you cannot predict the future, you cannot predict kind of what will happen tomorrow, and whether a crisis comes which would not expect. But I think it's the general impression that the church administration, church governance is in good hands.
Thank you,
Right now.
Father Vitaly. And I understand from your explanations that the council, the All-American Council, is the highest governing instance in the CA. Right?
Yes, it doesn't. Well, it gathers, as I said, every 3 years. So then that means it's not a regularly functioning body, but there is, of course, a Metropolitan Council and the Holy Synod. So there is in the OCA structure, there is a different. It somewhat reminds of the structure of the church governance outlined in the decisions of the Council 1917-1918, where there is a distinction between the rights and responsibilities of the Patriarch, of the Synod, and of the highest council of the Church. So this is in OCA, it's a Metropolitan Council. So the Synod deals with the canonical spiritual matters, and everything else, liturgical, whereas Metropolitan Council deals primarily with the management of the church, financial management, and governance of the church with it's a kind of хозяйственный, kind of like this is a practical aspect of the church governance. So this distinction was presupposed in between kind of spiritual matters and economic matters. That it was presupposed in this post 1917 structure, but which was never fully implemented because of the.
But do bishops have the right of veto? Regarding, like you explain, debate concerning suspension reform. So what if bishops would decide that basically we find that this is really good for the church? Thank you for your thoughts, but we will proceed with the reform. Is this possible?
Bishops have a limited role in that, I think, and I don't think they have a right to sort of. They have a role in the life of the church, where being a highest canonical authority, they can make their own decisions on canonical matters, such as they have a right in the process of episcopal election or election of the metropolitan, which is another function of the council. The Holy Synod, which in OCA, Holy Synod includes it's the same as Council of Bishops, includes all the bishops. They can make a decision. They can essentially, if, for example, according to current procedure, diocesan assembly nominates a candidate for episcopacy, the Holy Synod can reject that candidate. So they can say that, well, let's go for somebody else. Same with the metropolitan. If the council unanimously elects a metropolitan, nominates a candidate for the metropolitan, for the primate of the church, the Holy Synod can say that no, we want somebody else. But they have to, of course, say why, but they can have that. They have certain reserve powers, but it's just in practice, with the election of the metropolitan, they did not happen that I would outright reject. It never happened before, essentially. That would outright reject a specific candidate. Currently, I actually would be probably better to look directly at the statute of the OCA to see if the council actually has, if the Holy Synod can actually veto the decision of the whole council. My recollection tells me that if it does, it's a very limited.
Right.
Way.
Thank you very much, Father Vitaly, for your valuable time and for this enlightening presentation to all of us. I learned a great deal from this, and I wish you productive, successful
Thank you.
last time.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
In this event. Thank you again for this insightful talk.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to talk to you and to share my thoughts.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.